Then came an amazing stroke of luck. Captain Fritz Julius Lemp was a hero of the Third Reich. His U-boat, the U-110, had sunk the first ship in the war. In April 1941, he set out on what was to be his last mission. David Baum had just turned 20. He was an officer on HMS Bulldog, which was escorting a convoy from Liverpool bound for America.
We were south of Iceland, and we knew we were being shadowed. You get reports back from the Admiralty, you're being shadowed by U-boats. And we always knew we'd be attacked in this area. Suddenly, two ships were torpedoed, one after another. It was obvious where the attack had come from, and the corvette Obrisha made a very accurate attack on the U-boat. Must have got the depth charges just for right depth.
Georg Hergel was the Enigma operator on U-110. He had been with Captain Lemp throughout the war.
The light went out and we found ourselves sitting in the dark. Only the emergency lights came on. We then tried to restore power and check for water leaks.
It was a classic attack. Depth charges underneath the U-boat, blew it to the surface. This is the dream of every escort vessel, to see a U-boat blown to the surface, because usually they just sink when you do have a successful attack and go down to the bottom.
This was just the chance that Turing and Bletchley Park had been waiting for. On board the U-110 were the secret bigram tables.
Down below, we had no idea what was going on above us. But the commander on the bridge kept shouting, "Get out, get out." We asked, "What shall we do with the secret papers?" The order came back to leave everything and simply try to get out. I don't know. But we can't be blamed for following orders. You can't imagine what it was like if you weren't there.
The Germans abandoned ship, leaving the codebooks behind. But Georg Hergel had one precious document he had to rescue, a book of love poems to his girlfriend.
I went back down and grabbed the key to the place where the books were kept. I got my book out and tried to put it in my pocket, but it didn't fit. It was too big. So I unbuttoned my shirt and shoved it in there. It lay against my chest. And that's how I swam for half an hour.
David Baum led a boarding party across to the stricken submarine. Fearing that the Germans had left men behind to scuttle the boat, Baum went aboard first.
One couldn't imagine the Germans would have abandoned this U-boat floating in the Atlantic without someone down below trying to sink her. But at any rate, I got my revolver out. Secondary lighting, a dim blue lighting, was on, and I couldn't see anybody. Just a nasty hissing noise, which I didn't like the sound of. To this day, I don't know what it was.
The rest of the boarding party began to search the U-boat. They had no idea what they were looking for. They did not know about the secret bigram tables. David Baum had never heard of Bletchley Park.
I sat down at the captain's desk in his cabin, and suddenly, amongst all the things, I think his Iron Cross was there, and I put that into a bag, and various odds and ends. But also I came across a sealed envelope. I didn't open it. I wouldn't have understood it anyway, not speaking German. But it obviously was something fairly important, being a sealed envelope in his desk. So I popped it into my pocket.
Little did David Baum realize that the envelope would transform the intelligence battle against the U-boats. It contained procedural handbooks, a U-boat navigational chart, and the vital bigram tables. These documents gave Bletchley Park a major leap forward in decoding. Captain Lemp died in the attack. No one will ever know why he did not scuttle the U-boat or destroy the codes.
Das kann man jetzt im Nachhinein nicht mehr. Ich musste mich
You can't change things in retrospect. I had to leave because those were the orders.
Drin zu lassen.
And the unequivocal order was to leave everything behind and go up and climb onto the deck. There was no other way.
The only document on the U-110 that did not end up in British hands was the book of love poems to Edith. The papers that were captured, including the bigram tables, were priceless. When the documents reached Bletchley Park, the code breakers rejoiced. The tables and charts would lead to a drastic improvement in fixing U-boat positions, so convoys could be routed evasively around the wolf packs.
The prize were the bigram tables, and they were magnificent. Although some of them had got a bit wet and we had to dry them. Geoffrey Tandy, having been at the Natural History Museum, had access to proper drying paper, which he brought down by a load, and we had to dry those and clean them up and distribute them as necessary.
Almost immediately, the results were evident. On June 23, 1941, Bletchley Park decoded a U-boat message that would save a convoy. It was heading for England, laden with supplies, and the codebreakers discovered that a wolf pack of 10 U-boats was lying in wait. Armed with this knowledge, the Admiralty could reroute the convoy and set up a counterattack. The attack lasted 5 days. 2 of the U-boats were sunk, and the convoy arrived safely. The Allies had a formidable new weapon in the Battle of the Atlantic. But the war was far from over. Frustrated in his attempts to crush Britain, Hitler now dreamed of conquest in the East. In the spring of 1941, decoded Enigma messages hinted at preparations for a massive invasion of Russia. Once the invasion was underway, Bletchley Park began decoding other, more alarming messages. As the German troops advanced, the SS and police sent signals reporting their mass killings of Soviet Jews. Although no one anticipated the full scale of the genocide, this is now known to be the opening chapter of the Holocaust. When Churchill saw the decodes amidst other evidence, he wanted the whole country to share his outrage.
Since the Mongol invasions of Europe in the 16th century, there has never been methodical, merciless butchery on such a scale. We are in the presence of a crime without a name.
Churchill was taking a chance that the Germans would realize their codes had been broken, exposing the work of Bletchley Park. It was a huge gamble. In fact, the head of the order police was suspicious and ordered new restrictions on the sending of reports on the mass killings by radio. Luckily for Bletchley Park, the German High Command never lost its faith in the Enigma. But to avoid